Okay, this lecture is over manufacturers, factory layouts, and production systems. Chapter 20 in your text, starting on page 276. Apparel manufacturing is basically the process of cutting and sewing garments from purchased fabrics or the combination of mill and production functions. A traditional manufacturer is an apparel or textile production facility or factory that is owned and operated by one company that completes all the aspects of apparel design and assembly in-house. Not all companies design and manufacture the goods they sell. Some, and actually most, will outsource to contractors. So we'll go over a little bit of the definitions of these terms used here. A contractor is an independent business hired to provide production services to manufacture entire garments, the entire line, or partially complete component parts. And what that means is a component part would be like a pocket that's going to be added onto another garment, a cuff, some type of embroidery detail, and apparel manufacturers, government agencies, and retail manufacturers all employ contractors. So there are a lot of different types of retail manufacturers, and I want to make sure that we know the terminology. So retail manufacturers that develop private label goods, they contract a product for distribution and sale in their specific retail stores, catalogs, or online. So we'll go over these type of brand variations in a little bit more detail so we have an understanding of how and when to use these words. Wholesale, private label, store brand, licensed products, brand extensions, character licensing, and international licensing are all terms that are used to identify specific brands. A wholesale brands, also called proprietary labels, are sold at wholesale to retailers that also carry other wholesale brands. So they are carried by department stores, specialty stores, chain stores, and discount stores. They distribute products online, signature, or outlet stores. So down here, some examples are Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Guess, Armani, and Diesel. These are all wholesale brands that sell their product to department stores, specialty stores, chain stores, and discount stores. So if you go to discount stores, you will see a discount store would be like a TJ Maxx or Marshalls. If Calvin Klein has a run of items that have a very small, not an error, but a small production issue, then they would sell their wholesale at a wholesale price, which means production price, to a discount store. Wholesale brands, some of them own their own manufacturing facilities, or some use contractors. It just really depends on the specific company. There's been an increasing focus on development, sales, and marketing, relying on sourcing partners for manufacturing. And remember how much effort goes into sourcing. I know we talked about that earlier in this semester. Sourcing fabric, trim, closures, buttons, packaging, all of that. Private label and store brands. A private label or a private brand products, they're developed and merchandised for exclusive distribution by a particular retailer. A store brand is developed for stores that only sell a private brand. For example, the Gap and Limited is a store brand. And a private label is a private brand that's developed to compete with wholesale brands. And most private label brands are developed by the retailer's own product development team. So for example, Target has the Up and Up brand that is sold at Target, developed by Target to compete with other brands that they sell. Nordstrom has Halogen, which is specifically designed and created at Nordstrom. So that is a store, or that's a private label brand within Nordstrom that's going to compete with other brands they sell. And store brands like The Gap. The Gap specifically designs clothing for their Gap stores, and Gap items are only sold at Gap stores. So that would be a store brand. Other examples are The Limited, and I'm sure you guys can think of other ones. Private label and store brands. Here's another few examples. You can, or stores can buy exclusive merchandise from wholesale brand companies and then replace the brand label with their own private label. For example, Sears Holding Corporations has the private label rights to Land's End, Craftsman, Kmart, Kenmore, and the Great Outdoors. So whenever you're purchasing a Craftsman product or something at Kmart, you're actually purchasing from Sears because they own the private label brand to all of those. And a licensing agreement is also a term that we use a lot in the industry, and basically that means that a company has the exclusive rights to a brand for an agreed upon time. So maybe Sears wants to do a special collection with, I don't know, with another brand besides Land's End, and they say, we want to have a licensing agreement with this company for 6 months to do a special holiday line. Licensed products, similar here, brand extensions. This is where a brand or designer expands their reach, which means they add new products. And they do that by contracting with companies that can add new products to their well-known brand. For example, jewelry and shoes. And Ralph Lauren recently started making fine jewelry. So in addition to their clothing, their shoes, their belts, bedding, home goods, plates, they have now branched out into jewelry. So Ralph Lauren is really working on making a lifestyle brand where people can buy anything to put on their body that is made by Ralph Lauren. So, and they're very successful at that right now. Okay, a couple other terms for licensed product. Character licensing. Examples: SpongeBob SquarePants and college mascots. If any company wants to use a character license, so like down here you've got the Jell-O, they've got the Texas Tech, Gator Nation, Go Hogs, and Michigan Go Blue. Jell-O had to license out the character logos in order to use it on their packaging. And again, that will be for a determined amount of time. You know, for 6 months, college football season, Jell-O has a character license on whatever university college mascots they want to use to promote, probably making Jell-O shots or something, I don't know. Co-branded products. This is a modified price point designer for a company. So my example here, BCBG did an exclusive line for Nordstrom, and that was just for it was just for one season, and that's called a co-branded product. Another example of that is Philip Lim. He did a specific line down here for Target, and a lot of designers have been using Target to reach college students or other demographics that don't have the means to pay for the full price of their line, but they can get a modified design from the designer at Target, which has been really successful. International licensing protects brand trademark abroad and facilities products modification for global distribution. Okay, so back to manufacturing, back to some terminology in the text. Contractor categories will include cut, make, trim, which is abbreviated CMT, which you may get confused with country music television, but in the fashion industry, it is cut, make, trim. Jobbers is another term that you'll hear, and specialty contractors, also referred to as subcontractors. Cut, make, trim is a specific type of contractor that completes all aspects of production to manufacture the garment. This type of contractor receives the uncut raw materials, so the fabric, and produces the product by cutting, sewing, and finishing. So they basically do everything besides making the style, purchasing the fabric. They receive the fabric, cut it, sew the garment, trim it, but they do not participate in shipping. So anything outside of this dotted box, a cut, make, trim contractor does not participate in. A jobber is an independent contractor that's hired by a manufacturer to outsource production of entire garments or to partially complete component parts. And I know we already talked about that. So a partially completed component part would be a pocket or some additional type of accessory. Specialty contractor, also called a subcontractor, is an independent contractor hired by a manufacturer to complete a portion of the production of a garment that requires special skills and equipment that's not provided by that specific contractor. So examples here of a specialty contractor would be somebody who is making belts, doing specific covered buttons, maybe specialty pleating, specialty printing, or specialty quilting. Here is a quilting arm that would require special skills, and here's an example of some belt making that might require special skills that that contractor doesn't have. Okay, a couple types of factory layouts that we need to know the difference between. There's production layout, also called line layout, and then there's process layout, which is also called a skill center layout. The production layout or line layout is a spatial arrangement of equipment that is set up in the order of the manufacturing steps to produce a garment, not a specific style necessarily. So this will be set up to the specific steps. So we'll start here at A, go to B, go to C, go to D, and it looks like two people in this setup are both working on step 5. And then step 5, there's 2 people that are working on 6, and again, 2 people that are working on step 7. So the steps to produce this garment is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, and every step has a specific production. Okay, the process layout or skill center layout is where equipment is grouped and placed into working areas according to the steps of a specific garment style. So this is where bundle component parts are grouped by the assembly operations. And this is really effective for manufacturers that do small volumes and make a variety of options. And the example I have here is like an engineering shop, but you can look at it as the same way as an apparel production shop. So this room would do one item. This would be all pressing, you could say, and this middle room would do all of the side seams, and this last room over here might do the collar attachment. So there's separate rooms for each production piece, and they're not necessarily in a specific row like the other layout was, but this is better for making smaller volumes and a variety of styles. Production systems. A production system is the combination of resources and workflow sequencing to needing to manufacture finished, saleable garments. This word, for some reason, is really hard for me to say. Saleable. Okay, you want to practice that one. Okay, some terminology that we want to go over: workflow, work in process, also called work in progress, and materials handling. Production system includes the handling of materials, garment component parts, and findings. It also includes the labor force, equipment and machinery, and the logical sequence for the movement of materials and garment components. The 3 main production system types are progressive bundling system, unit production system, and modular production system. The progressive bundling is where factory workers complete the same operation every day and they become highly efficient. For example, one worker will sew on the collar, the next only sews on sleeves. So for the bundle, garment component parts are grouped together for routing that include pieces for completing a particular operation or portion. Bundles are manually moved from one workstation to the next. And factories with a product layout or the line layout or the process layout, which is skill centered, highly rely on the bundle method. Unit production is similar to the progressive bundling, but all the garment component parts for each garment stay in one bundle and are moved from one workstation to the next by conveyors. And you can see in this picture, each of these little hooks has all the garment pieces to make one item. Now, I'm not sure what type of garment they're making here, but all of the pattern pieces, let's say a sweatshirt, all of the pattern pieces to make a sweatshirt are going to stay together throughout the entire production system. Whereas in the bundle system, they would just, one person would focus on sewing a sleeve. So sleeve after sleeve after sleeve, and they would never attach the sleeve to the body of the garment. But in the unit production, the whole unit of the garment stays together. So a person will sew the sleeve and then maybe attach it to the bodice. Okay, the last is the modular production system, and this is a production method in which teams or individuals work together to complete the assembly of a garment. So team members are cross-trained to complete several operations within the group, and employees are compensated as a team. Using a modular production system really allows for a lot of flexibility, and the other production systems usually don't. When you use a modular production system, individuals are cross-trained, so there's opportunity for a lot of variety in what the production team can create. And I think that is it.